Hello and welcome back. My name is India and I happen to read a lot, and today we are tackling my very scary, overextended, way too much faith in my reading ability February TBR. I can't believe I chose this many books. That's on me. Like, I really should have packed it in, but all of these sound really exciting and I desperately want to read all of them, so yeah, lay off, alright? Stop fucking judging me. So, let's get into it. We're starting off first, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. As you know, I'm trying to read all of the Hunger Games books, the entire Hunger Games universe, before Sunrise on the Reaping comes out in March. I, as of January, completed the Hunger Games trilogy. 10 out of 10, what an amazing series. It is now time for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I've seen the movie, because weirdly, and a lot of people are going to say you're a weirdo for this, I believe in watching the adaptations first, then reading the books. Because, in my opinion, you can then enjoy the adaptation as its own thing, and then read the book and enjoy that as its own thing, rather than reading the book, loving the book, watching the adaptation and being incredibly disappointed by the adaptation. Because I watched the Percy Jackson movies before the books, loved the movies, read the books, loved the books even more, can understand why people were disappointed, but I don't have that disappointed connection to the movies because I watched them first. While with the TV show, I put the TV show up on a higher pedestal because I've read the books first. Does that make sense? Anyway, so I've seen Ballad the movie. I do own this physically, but I have requested the audiobook on my library app because I really enjoyed the Hunger Games audiobook. And I think maybe I'll enjoy that as well. Though I have heard the way that the audiobook narrator does Lucy Gray's songs are a bit questionable. But yes, Ballad is next. Then we have How to Seal Your Own Fate by Kristin Perrin. This comes out in March of 2025. I do like to read my new releases a month before they come out, so I like to read my March releases in February. Get ahead of the game. But I read How to Solve Your Own Murder last year. It made it to my top 5 murder mysteries and my top 20 books of the year. I really loved it. So I am nervous going into How to Seal Your Own Fate. One, for two reasons. One, when you love a first book as much as I loved How to Solve Your Own Murder, it's always a little bit nerve-wracking to read a sequel because you always think to yourself, oh, am I going to enjoy this as much as the first book? Then there's the added element of I thought How to Solve Your Own Murder was wrapped up very nicely with a little bow. I am nervous about making a series out of a story that kind of felt very standalone vibes. So I will see whether this holds up to How to Solve Your Own Murder or whether it felt like an unnecessary sequel. But I loved How to Solve Your Own Murder, so I do think I'm going to love this. But we will see. Oh, and I should probably give you a synopsis. So this is followed directly after book 1, and it involves the death of the fortune teller that foretold Annie's own great aunt's murder, and how that has the fortune teller's death connects even to the past back when Annie's great aunt was young, which is connected to the past, which is in the first book, because the first book is told from 2 different points of view at 2 different time periods. We're doing that again, which I love, and that was one of my favourite parts about How to Solve Your Own Murder. So, yeah. And it's also parallels because Annie gets told a grim fortune the same way that Frances does, and Frances's grim fortune, told by this fortune teller, is what sets off the motion of her own murder in the future. So it's that kind of vibe, right? But yeah, really looking forward to it. It's a lot smaller than How to Solve Your Own Murder in terms of page count, so we shall see. Then we have Collide by Bal Khabra. It is a sports romance. It's another hockey romance because I can't seem to stay away from hockey romances at the moment. I recently actually received the second book, Spiral, which is a hockey ballet sports romance. But since I received the second one, I was like, shit, I need to read Collide. So I'm reading Collide. I also get nervous about reading new romance authors because I love Tessa Bailey so much. And I feel safe reading Tessa Bailey romances because I know that I love her. I'm always worried that I'm going to pick up a new romance and it's not going to hit as hard. So I've got faith. I've got faith. It's a hockey player and a sports psychologist. So this follows a sports psychologist called Summer, and she gets partnered up with the hockey captain because he did a stupid thing on the ice and his whole team and his career is in jeopardy. So he gets put forward for her research because she's going to be a sports psychologist, and they have to work together for her research paper and to put him back in the good books. They just can't deny that they are falling in love. And yeah, looks really exciting. Gotta read at least one romance book in February, obviously, and this is one of them. Then, getting a little bit ahead of the game here, we have an April 2025 release. This is Open Heaven by Seán Hewitt. This is the book I'll be taking with me to Dublin next week. Open Heaven, I don't know too much about this. This was sent to me by the publisher. So it's two boys, they fall in love and it's their summer together. So I thought, again, romance, gotta read this in February, the month of romance. Can you blame me? But that's all I really know. I am going into this quite blind. There he is. And it's also very short, and that's one thing about me, I love a short book. I know that's literally going against what I said about reading chunkier books, reading longer books. You can't take the short book away from me. But yes, there you go. A little summer romance for February. Then we have another April release. This book actually comes out on the 3rd of April, 2025. This is Fair Play. This is Fair Play by Louise Hegarty, and it is a locked room murder mystery. It's set during a murder mystery party. That is all I know. I'm going into this incredibly blind again. I've really, to be honest with you, I've been doing that a lot for this month, I think. A lot of these books I'm going in and we're like, we'll just see. We'll see where the wind takes us. We'll see where the pages send us, you know? And this, yeah, it just says a locked room, a hidden life. And that's all I want to know. And I think especially for mysteries, it's kind of good to go in with not knowing too much information because then you can be pleasantly surprised. Yeah, this one also feels very epistolary-esque as well. Only like a teeny bit, just like the structure and the way it's written. I see a couple of emails in there. I see some emails in there. And you guys know I love an epistolary novel. Cast of characters, all of that. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this. I was umming and ahhing between this book and Open Heaven for Dublin, but then I did obviously decide going to read the Irish author when you go to Ireland. Only makes sense. Then I have Dark Like Under by Alice Chadwick. Now this, all I know about this is it's set in a school in the 80s in rural England after the death of a beloved, I think it's beloved teacher, and it's about how this death rocks the school. So you follow the students, you follow the teachers, but also the element of how death can ricochet and affect different people. When I saw this, I was like, that's a chunky book, because this was sent to me by the publisher. Again, I'll link in the description books that are sent to me by the publisher. But this was sent by the publisher, and I opened up the parcel and I was like, Jesus, this is chunky. But then when you actually look at the font's chunky. So I was like, I don't think this will take me as long as I thought it would, just based on the page size, you know? But yes, I think this is going to break my heart into a million pieces. I'm looking at the reviews on the back and I think I'm going to cry. Then I forgot that last September when I went to London, I brought a shit ton of like tour.com small novellas. And I decided, shit, I need to get back on and read those because they're just sat there waiting for me. So this is Flowers for the Sea by Zin E. Rocklyn. This book is very Noah's Ark vibes. It's set on an ark with the survivors of a flooded kingdom, so it's very Noah's Ark. I don't know if I said it's like Noah's Ark, it's very Noah's Ark. And we follow Araxi, who is pregnant with a child that is more than what it seems. That sounds scary as hell, but I'm ready to go. And this has, how many pages is this? 106 pages. That's including the acknowledgements. So this is a good one. Again, this was one where I was like, oh, do I take this to Dublin? Because it's quite short, so maybe I will. I'm not thinking about it. Maybe I will. And I know I said to you that I wanted to read more chunky books. Nothing gets chunkier than this. Have you seen this? This is Cells of Work, and it's by Akane Shimizu. And this is a omnibus. So this has volumes 1 through 3. And then I also own the second omnibus, which has volumes 4 through 6. And that's it. There's only 2 omnibus collections. That sounds incredible. This, to be honest with you, is just anthropomorphized cells. It's set in the body, set in this random person's body, and it's the cells that work in this person's body. And I think you follow a red blood cell and a white blood cell, and you just, I guess it teaches you the way that the cells in the body work in a fun manga format. And this is a trial in 3 acts by Guy Morpuss, who is an ex-barrister, I think. I don't know whether he's still a barrister. He's a superstar barrister. I've personally never heard of superstar barrister Guy Morpuss, KC. But I'm excited to know him as Guy Morpuss, superstar author, potentially. And this follows the death of a leading actress in a play. Again, I will say I kind of went for it for its epistolary nature. What more do you want from me? I do like the idea that it's written from the point of view of the barrister, so it will have more of a law side to it, I'm guessing, which you don't really get too much in murder mysteries. 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh, we found out who the murderer is, and then you never see the court side of things. So this might, due to his experience as being a barrister, a superstar barrister, you might get a little bit more of the court legal side. But that sounds really fun. And again, it's epistolary. And my girl Janice Hallett, my epistolary queen, she was talking and reviewing it, and I will say I read those reviews. Then we have my most anticipated book of the year. I don't care what anybody else says at this point. I genuinely think right now, at least at this point with the knowledge that I have right now, this is my most anticipated book of the year. This is Faithbreaker by Hannah Kana. This comes out in March this year, and it is the final book in the Fallen Gods trilogy. Now, for those of you who may know, I have read Godkiller and I've read Sunbringer, and I was in 2 podcast episodes. I was on the Hidden Bookcase podcast with my lovely friends Morgan and Soren, and we spoke about Godkiller and Sunbringer, and we had a lot of theories about Faithbreaker, and this is the chunkiest that this book has. Like, Godkiller is a very tiny book, an incredible, amazing 10 out of 10 book with a very tiny page count. Faithbreaker is a bit chunkier. I can't really remember what happened in the last 2 books because I did read them a year and 2 years ago, but I am so stressed about what's going to happen in this book. It's set in a world where there are multiple gods, and we follow 3 different characters. One who is a god killer, her job is just to kill gods, as in the name. One who is the daughter of a noble woman that is fleeing an assassination attempt, and she is mysteriously tied to a god herself. Like, you can't separate this god from her. And then the third one is a knight, a retired knight that has connections to the king and a very awful civil war that happened in the kingdom. That's all I'm going to give you. This, like, people are going to die in this book, and I think loved ones are going to die, and I need to listen back to our podcast episodes because I had theories. There's one character in general that I do want to die. I won't say it for spoilers, but I hope he does. But I'm very excited to read this. This is my most highly anticipated book of the year. I am nervous as fuck to read it, though. I've already mentioned this on a weekly vlog, but I also have planned, and I don't know, I mean, like, this is chunky as hell. I don't know how I'm going to get through. It looks chunky. Oh, I forget how many for the bibliography. Hold on. How much for the bibs? For the bibliography? For the notes? Okay, that much is notes. That's still chunky. That's 412 pages. But this is about the second wife of Dr. Crippen. Dr. Crippen was a notorious murderer, but the story and the book focuses more on his second wife. It's by the author who did The Five, who put the focus on the women who were only ever really thought about as the victims of Jack the Ripper, and it was giving them some agency in their life, sharing more about their life. It's by her, and this is her second, so not her second book, that's a lie. 7th book, 5th nonfiction. But yeah, I'm very excited to read it. One of my friends is reading it at the moment, and he is loving it. Because we have to make sure that I am reading my 20 books in 2025, considering I have read the first one. The first one was a DNF. More on that later. I am reading The Principle of Moments. This is by Esmie Jikiemi-Pearson, and it's kind of Doctor Who vibes. She says Doctor Who is a massive inspiration. It is a time-traveling, time-hopping action adventure following so many different viewpoints. We've got queer characters, we've got black characters at the forefront of the story. I am incredibly excited to see this. Is the first in a series, as you can see there. She's also a friend of a couple of my friends, and I have to support my friends' friends. One thing about me, I'm gonna support my friends' friends, even if I don't know who they are, and they don't know who I am, but I'm supporting them. So yes, I'm very excited to read this. I love books that transcend time and transcend the meta, and they don't follow the typical genre structures, and they're a bit all over the place. I love them. So yes, I'm very excited to read this. And then finally, after all of those, we have The Artist by Lucy Steeds, which is a historical fiction about a journalist in the 1920s. Where specifically? In Provence in the 1920s, as he goes to interview this notorious artist and he meets his wife. Okay, that's a lie. A journalist goes to interview this notorious painter, but also meets the painter's niece. And there is more to the niece that meets the eye. My guess is it's going to be the case. I'm putting the theory out here and we'll confirm in the wrap up. But my theory is that the niece is actually the artist and that the uncle is pretending to be the artist, but it's actually the niece. That's the vibe I'm getting. But it's actually quite a short historical fiction book. It's going to talk probably about women's agency, women in the arts, and I'm very excited to read it. This is the final stack for my February TBR. It's a big one. I think I may have had wishful thinking with this. If you want to watch my journey reading these books for the month of February, please subscribe to the channel. I do weekly vlogs and I go into detail about the books that I'm talking about, as well as just general life things. They're not super long vlogs. I think the longest one I had might have been just under 20 minutes, but I flick through the whole week. So it's not just, it's Monday through to Sunday. So yeah, check it out. Thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Thank you.